this video, we will be learning about how to slice lists and strings in Python. Slicing is a feature that allows us to access specific elements in a list or string without the hassle of using for loops. Let's jump into some examples to help us better visualize slicing in action. Here we have a list called letters, and it contains A, B, C, all the way through J, so 10 elements in total. Above, I have commented the positive indexes, so the letter A has an index of 0, B is 1, C is 2, and so forth up to 9. Below, I have commented the negative indexes, which starts at -1 at the end of the list. So the letter J has an index of -1, I is -2, and so forth down to -10 for A. Now we can put a print statement for the list saying print letters, and then use square brackets to access an element. So if we put 4 inside and run this, we get back the letter E. We can also access elements in the list using negative values. So if we put an index of -1, we get back the last element in the list, which is J. If we change that to -6, it should be the same as the positive index of 4 in our case. So we get back E, which checks out. Now that covers how we would access single elements in a list. To slice a list, or in other words, to access a set of sub-elements in our list, we can use the following notation here. Letters, start, stop, and step. So start refers to the index of the first element we want to access, followed by a colon, and stop would be the element we want to access up to. We will come back to step in a little bit. Now the key thing to remember is that the stop index is non-inclusive, meaning it will return the element right before this index. So for example, let's say we want to get back the letters A through F. If we put letters, start at 0, then a colon, and stop at 5, we will get back A through E, since the stop is non-inclusive. So in order to get the letter F in there, we need to put a stop index of 6. And as you can see, we get the letters A through F. Now let's say we want to take a slice from the middle of our list. For example, if we want to get D, E, F, we would start at the index of the letter D, which is 3, and a stop of 6. Now when we run this, we get back D, E, F. The positive and negative indexes can also be combined. So instead of stopping at 6, we can also put -4 and it will run the same. We don't have to strictly use positive indexes or strictly use negative indexes, as these can be used together. Now let's say we want to get the letters from B to the end of the list. So we can start at 1, but if we put a stop of 9, we will only get back the letters B through I. Since the stop is non-inclusive, it won't include J. So in order to start somewhere in the list and get to the rest of the elements from there on, we can simply leave out the stop index and end with a colon. As you can see, we get the letters B through J by doing this, as a colon will return all the elements from the start index to the end of the list. If we do -2 colon, we get back IJ. The same can be done the other way around. If we have no start index, but we have a colon and a stop index, we will get back all the elements from the beginning of the list up until the element right before the stopping index. For example, if we do :7, we get the letters A through G. If we have no start or stop index, then we will simply get back a copy of the entire list. Now let's take a look at the step. If we put a step value in the slice, we will get back the elements of our list that go from the start to stop, but increment with the step value. So for example, if we start at index 1 and stop at index 8, we will get back the letters B through H. This is because the default step value is 1. Now when we include a step value, let's say 2, we will go from the start to stop index, but increment by 2 indexes at a time. So instead of getting back every letter from B through H, we will now skip every other letter, since we will go from index 1 to 3 to 5 to 7. So we get back B, D, F, and H. The step value can also be negative to go in reverse. With this example here, if we change the value to -2 and run it, we will get back an empty list. This is because we are trying to start at an index of 1 and stop at an index of 8, which is not possible to do in reverse. But if we switch the start and stop values, then we get I, G, E, C, which is every other letter starting from index 8 down to 1, with 1 being non-inclusive. If we change the -2 step value to -1, then we get every letter from I to C in reverse. Now if we want the entire list reversed, we can do so by not putting a start or stop value. So the slice will go from the beginning to the end of the list in a step of -1. And as you can see, we get back J to A in backwards order. That pretty much covers slicing lists in Python, so let's move on to slicing strings. So let's say we have a string called dessert, and we'll set it equal to cheesecake. We can print it out with print dessert to see that it says cheesecake. Now the first thing we're going to do is reverse a string. Just like how we put the list in reverse previously, we will do the same here. So let's do a new print statement, and then we'll put square brackets, and then leave the start and stop indexes blank so that there are 2 colons and a step value of -1. When we print this out, we can see that cheesecake is now backwards. Now let's say we only want to print cake. So we can either slice this using positive or negative indexes. Since cake is near the end of the string, it might be easier to start at a negative value. So when we count from the end, we get -1, -2, -3, -4. If we start at -4 and go until the end of the string and print that out, you can see that we get cake. Now let's say we only want to print cheese. We can do this by starting at the beginning of the string. So we just put a colon, and then we go until 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, since the stopping point is non-inclusive. When we run this, you can see that we get cheese. Finally, let's say we want to print out a section from the middle of our string, like EESE. We can start at 0, 1, 2, so our starting index will be 2, and then we go until 3, 4, 5, 6. And when we print this out, we get a string of EESE. That's all for this video, and I hope these examples help give you a better idea of all the different ways you can slice lists and strings in Python.